Howdy and welcome back. Today we're going to be jumping through and learning how to add a screen shake effect to our game. Currently, whenever any activity goes on, the camera stays static, following the player, but otherwise is not moving when any events occur in our game. We want to add some features such as screen shake to give the sense that something's going on, that there's heft to the events that are occurring. And so the first thing that we're going to do is, of course, go over to our workspace and we're going to be working around with our camera. And so in our create event, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of stuff. And so this is going to be specifically addressing our screen shake effect. So we're going to have a couple of variables that are relevant. Let me move this over and focus on just this. So we're going to add a variable called shake length. This is going to refer to the number of frames. We're going to add in shake magnitude. This is our pixel range for how much it's going to possibly move around. This is going to be initialized also to 0. We're going to have a shake remaining pixels to move, and then finally a shake buffer. Actually, I might set this to, I'll leave it at 32. Either 32 or 64, you can play around with it depending on the scaling of your game. Prevents camera from viewing outside room. You have to keep this in mind whenever you're building up your world, that you are going to lose 32 pixels on the edges. It's up to you on how you choose to address that, or you can switch this. Just be aware, if you don't have a buffer, there is the potential for the camera to move or shake outside of the room, and then you're going to see the, outside space in the background. So just be aware of that. Now that we have these initial variables, let's jump into our step event and add in a little bit more to our code. So let's see. So this is a clamp. This prevents us from going outside of bounds. Before we actually update the camera view here, let's go ahead and add in shaking. So our X is going to be plus equals a random range. And this, of course, is going to be within the negative shake remaining and positive shake remain. We do that also for Y. So this allows for us to have a random amount of shaking in the corresponding directions with it slowly whittling down. Here, shake remain is going to be the maximum between 0 or the current value of shake remain minus 1 divided by the length of the shake times the shake magnitude that we're going for, how much it's supposed to be shaking. Let me make sure I have all the parentheses right. No, one more needed to be here. Yes, there we go. And so here in our step event, our X and Y value is going to be slightly shifted by a random value between the negative or positive of the remaining shake and the number of pixels we still have to move. How much we have left to move is based off of the larger number between either 0, that way it doesn't go to negative, so it'll always pick at least 0. Otherwise, if there's still a positive value left for us to continue shaking in pixels, then we take our current value minus 1 over the number of frames that we're going to shake multiplied by the magnitude. With this, we now have a minor shaking event. This can cause the camera to shake, but of course, our values are all initialized to 0. It's not going to really, oh, and one last thing, we need to actually update here. This is to prevent going outside of the room. That's all I was about to reference is the shake buffer keeps us trapped within the room, but I need to make sure to actually include the shake buffer. And then on the other side, of course, minus the shake buffer. Shake buffer. And so we now have the means to shake the camera should these values have anything set to. They're of course initialized to 0 minus of course the buffer being set to 32. I might switch to 64, depends on how it looks in my game. But until those values actually change, nothing's going to happen, which is why we're going to create a brand new script. A script, and I'm just going to call this one screen shake. And so for our screen shake, this is simply a matter of us so what is it? Our description, this is a screen shake, and we pass in two things, our magnitude and the time. What are the things that we received for this function of ours? Our first argument, magnitude, sets the strength of the shake. This is radius in pixels. And then, of course, no, not time, I'm doing frames. Frames. That's the length. And so we are, of course, passing in magnitude and the number of frames we're shaking. Inside here, we reference with the camera object. If our magnitude is greater than shake remain. And so this is there to address if we are told to shake while we're already shaking. This ensures that we shake for, let's say we're currently shaking for another 10 frames, but we just got the instructions to shake for 50 frames. This will update it so that way we shake for 50 more frames rather than it ignoring it because we only have 20 frames left of a different and smaller shake. Or sorry, this is not referencing the frames, but how far in pixels we're going to be shaking. So a bigger shake will take priority regardless of the time. Downside, of course, to the system is that only one shake is going to occur at all. The biggest shake will always take priority. But as for our systems, it's good enough. We don't need anything too crazy. But if you'd like, you can explore that in your own time. Essentially, you have to have some system to keep track of all the shakes that are ongoing and have those all modifying the camera. It wouldn't be too hard, but it is up to you whether you want to put forward that effort. And then inside here, so long as there's a bigger shake going on than the current shake, if there is a shake at all, the shake magnitude gets updated. Magnitude gets updated with the new magnitude we've passed in. The amount that remains is, of course, the magnitude. And then our length is however many frames we've been passed in. So now that we have our screen shake set up, let's go ahead and add in a couple of effects to have screen shake. Of course, whenever I kill off the enemy, we should add in a screen shake of some amount. Let's see, screen shake. I'm gonna go ahead and pass in magnitude of 6 pixels, and I want this to shake for half a second, 30 frames. Seems good. And then every time we fire the rifle, let's go to the rifle in our begin step. If you didn't catch it, in for the enemy, you do that in the create event. As soon as the dead enemy is created, you shake. Here, whenever you create the bullet down here after we fire the rifle, you'll want to, of course, also add in a screen shake. This one, we're going to want it to be a little smaller, nothing too crazy. Maybe just 2 pixels in magnitude, and I want this to be for 1/6 of a second, 10 frames. And I think that's all we really need. Yeah, let's go ahead and give it a try. Assuming everything's typed correctly. It's building. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump into our testing room. Yes, there we go. We see a decent shake. It's notice how this block is kind of cut off. It's actually cut off halfway. It's because 32 pixels in that direction is actually being blocked off to keep our little buffer for the shaking of it. That's where I mentioned that I could put 64, that way it's a clean cut, but that's something that you have to just be aware of. But I don't intend on this outer edge being used, and so I'm fine with it serving as a barrier. Okay, so we have a decent little shake every time we shoot, and then we should have a more sizable one. There we go. There's a much more sizable one. Yeah. So we've got a cool little shake effect. And it shakes, of course, whenever we hit them with the axe. Notice normally swinging with the axe, nothing happens. It's only whenever a death is caused due to the axe. But that's how you can add in screen shake. And so if you have any questions or need any assistance with that, just let me know in class. Otherwise, that's all that we've got for this video. Everyone have a good one, and I'll see y'all next time.